Okay, the next presentation is by Cindy Rivers and Aaron Poresky. Cindy Rivers is from the County of Orange. She's a Stormwater Program Manager with over 12 years of experience in environmental regulatory compliance. She has worked as an environmental consultant in Australia and the United States. She's currently the Stormwater Program Manager for South Orange County. And Aaron Poresky is a principal with Geosyntec Consultants. He has 13 years of experience in stormwater management, including complex and high-profile projects for clients in the public, private, and research sector. Mr. Poresky has supported several California municipalities and land developers with development of biofiltration soil specifications. So we'll hear their presentation next.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as Vicky said, I'm Cindy Rivers, and I'm the South Orange County Stormwater Program Manager, and with OC Public Works. So today I, along with Agile Process with Geosyntec, will be presenting on OC Stormwater Tools, a collaborative open source web application to support the life cycle of watershed plan implementation. So just to provide some background information, so the need of the tool started with the basically the San Diego Regional MS4 permit, which requires the development of a water quality improvement plan. And with the development of the water quality improvement plan, we had to identify priority water quality conditions and set numerical goals, strategies, and schedules to address them. And so with that, each water quality improvement plan also needed to basically identify monitoring and assessment measures or methods that will be used to basically measure the progress towards addressing or making sure that we're addressing these numericals and schedules. And so, so each WQIP also will need to incorporate adaptive management procedures to ensure that as we're implementing the WQIP, what we're doing within our strategies are effective and that we're actually addressing water quality conditions or the priority water quality conditions within our watershed management area. And so to fulfill these requirements, the County of Orange, along with 11 co-permittee cities in South Orange County, developed the South Orange County Water Quality Improvement Plan. And within the plan, we essentially identified 3 highest priority water quality conditions, which include human pathogen health risk, with goals and strategies focusing on human waste source controls. Next is on stream erosion, with a focus on stream rehabilitation. And then the third is a natural water balance with a focus on dry weather runoff elimination. And as we're developing the WQIP and then realizing all the different strategies that we've identified within the plan, we realized that with long-term implementation and needing to track assets and then ensuring the effectiveness of these assets, and then having to conduct periodic updates as part of the life cycle of the watershed plan implementation, we realized that something was needed to assist us in tracking all these. And so, along with, we also need to realize that, development of, standardizing data collection methods, collecting information on the assets, and then conducting pollutant load estimates are important to basically assess that, the measures, to assess whether these measures are actually being improved, and demonstrate that we're attaining compliance, or whether or not we need to go back and refine our strategies. And so to assist in these tracking, these long-term watershed plan implementation, the South Orange County Water Quality Improvement Plan included the water quality asset inventory and pollutant load estimate special studies. And so the special study essentially is to build tools to support collaboration amongst our stakeholders, not just within cities in South Orange County, but water agencies as well as wastewater agencies, and to basically develop and maintain water quality asset inventory, and then improve the data sets to describe the watershed activities that are occurring, to kind of see whether or not what we're doing is effective, and then quantifying and tracking BMP benefits, and ensure that if BMP is identified as needing maintenance, then we're doing the maintenance associated with it. And so with that, that led us to the the key study approaches to the development of the OC Stormwater Tools, which is to build a open source web application, and that we use and leverage the prior open source investment in Lake Tahoe as well, and John just presented on, and to help facilitate permittee collaboration, and to basically support a broader scale up and potential partnerships with implementation of the WQIP, and also to basically have the tool to support a federated approach for drainage and water quality assets. And so as so we can draw information and data sets from outside agencies, and have the data basically be streamlined and updated as it's being updated in various databases, and then also develop a pollutant load and water balance model which is customized to the WQIP matrix and priorities. And with that, we identified that the tool is currently being developed, and so as the tool is being developed, we identified different phases of tool development, and has been separated into 3 separate modules. And so then the modules include the inventory module, and next is then the modeling module, and after that it's the planning and reporting module. And so with that, Erin's going to provide additional information about the tool and where we're at with the development of the tool. So with that, I'll turn it over to Erin.
All right, thanks, Cindy. And I should mention that I'm not a software developer, but I work with a really good software developer, and it's been really fun to do this project and kind of design where we can build from, and then how we can take user feedback and take the specific needs of the WQIP, which I am very familiar with, to bring those together into a tool that isn't just going to be slick and fancy, but that people are going to find a lot of value in, and we're going to kind of drive the users feeling like it's valuable and feeling like they're going to invest in it, to use it as their main base to fulfill these functions. And so the development process, what Sitka uses, and a lot of software companies use, is an agile development process. And so we don't design the whole entire system, go off for 9 months and work on it, come back and hope we got it right. It's a much more iterative process than that, and it's something where you start with the big vision, you start with where you want to go ultimately, so that you can make the right decisions about your foundation, you can make the right decisions about your platform, but then you define the really core functionality, you work towards that, you start getting a user group engaged in providing feedback, and you take those feedback requirements to build the next phases. And so we were lucky in this case, we had the BMP round from the Tahoe area to start with. So it let us go from sort of ground zero to MVP in just a couple months. And then we were able to get people really engaged in it, get people envisioning where it could go for them relative to their asset tracking, and ultimately collaboration on proposing projects and seeking funding on those projects, sharing those projects with funders and so on. And so this process involves these progressive sprints of adding functionality, getting trial users in there, working in sort of dummy data to start with, and then eventually getting to points where things are totally solid and we can start working with real data while we continue to add releases and more functionality along the way. And so what has evolved out of this is currently a structural BMP inventory module, and something that covered the whole gamut of the types of water quality assets we have out there beyond just stormwater, the low flow diversions, the trash capture BMPs, those big multi-benefit systems that might have treatment and harvest and use type of functionality. And the ability to track BMP attributes, use this as your central database for what are these BMPs, what are the documents associated with them, what are their key attributes, what are their modeling parameters. As people are out there, techs are in the field collecting these data, we want them to be collecting not just what they see, but also pulling the relevant information off of the plans or measuring in the field so that we're going to have the right amount of information to model the benefit of the BMPs. John described this rapid assessment method that yields a score of 0 to 5 based on key observations that you can take, and so that's an element of the tool. We also built in maintenance tracking, so when somebody's out there performing an assessment, they might be performing some maintenance or somebody else might be performing maintenance, but being able to track the amount of trash or sediment that comes out of these things with the time and date stamp, and understand, build those data sets that in 10 years we can retrospectively look at these and say, yeah, we have a lot better understanding about how much it costs to maintain these BMPs, how often are they going to need to be maintained, etc. in different locations. So we've really optimized this for both the desktop user who's going to access it through the internet, as well as the field user who's going to access it through a mobile internet device, and giving them the ability, recognizing that we don't have a good inventory to start with. The inventory is incomplete. And so there's going to be multiple purposes. In the start, it's going to be a lot about using your field visits to these BMPs to improve the inventory, track conditions, and track maintenance. As the inventory gets better, it'll be kind of skipping over that, improve the inventory stage, and just tracking conditions and maintenance as we go. Water quality management plans is what the Orange County calls the plan that rides with priority development projects. So people call them different things in different regions, but that's a key asset. It's a parcel level asset. It's not a specific facility, but it's a parcel that the jurisdictions all have responsibility to assure continues to be maintained. They have a responsibility to track them, and so that's another key element in the tool is the parcels that are associated with water quality management plans. Development projects anywhere from 2000-ish to when those requirements came into effect to current, and managing all the related files about those, understanding which BMPs are associated with those is a critical linkage. I think one of the things that we really tried to think through is, as John and Bob did about the regulator approval. We don't have a regulator approving these, but we do have the need to have data quality, and so building in a jurisdictional manager's review process so that a field editor can be adding things provisionally and a jurisdictional manager has the ability to review that and make them verified BMPs before that data would be shared with others. We have flexibility to kind of tweak information sharing. Right now the information is mostly within each jurisdiction, but there is the point where the verified BMPs will then be shared with other jurisdictions to support this watershed planning, watershed level planning objectives where there might be 4 or 5 jurisdictions in a watershed. Currently, we have 24 BMP types supported. It's been in live usage since July, the first module, the inventory module. We've got about 4,000 BMP entities in there already, and a bunch of WQMP sites, lots more to come, 50 plus users, and about 20-ish users that are really actively using it in a given month. So this has been really good uptake and good kind of engagement among the user community, and been well received by the permittees as a place to, we all have work to do on our inventory, let's all build on the same thing, and so we adopt the same terminology and use the same protocols. So my takeaways thus far, I would say we've had, through the Agile process, we were able to get people really engaged in the early stages of development, and I was a little bit cautious. We were presenting something that wasn't complete. It didn't meet all their needs. Do we want to bring it to them? We did, and we got really good brainstorming sessions, really good feedback early on that really helped us understand what functionality is critical for people that we hadn't even thought about, what had we thought about, and we had verified that it was critical versus which things were cool to us, but we just didn't have there wasn't an appetite, there wasn't an immediate driver. And I mentioned the long-term vision is important. The vision of this thing being a pollute and load model, where these BMPs, once they've been added, connected to the network, are providing real-time updates to the permittees about their progress on different WQIP metrics. That is the long-term vision, and starting on the right framework for that was really critical. And it's critical to drive management level buy-in on participating in this, knowing that this, there's a lot of asset management systems out there, but having, starting something that's going to move towards that type of functionality that's critical for WQIP implementation was really important. But it's also, you got to have users. You want to start that virtuous cycle of getting users engaged, having them find value, and getting input from them about what would be better. And so you got to find what I learned through this is you have to find out what motivates your early adopters. And it's not going out and assessing the big regional BMPs. It was really getting into trash and getting into assessing trash devices, inventorying those, knowing where they are, knowing what type they were, and developing that record. And so that's just one part of compliance for the South Orange County cities, but it was the part that we were able to kind of latch onto and use that energy to drive a lot of user input and improve, with general improvements across the platform. And the next step, so we're moving towards this living model, stormwater runoff, pollutant loads, tracking the water balance of what's going, how can we move the needle towards, more in that orange block, more in that yellow block, more in that, I'm colorblind and I can't tell you what color block it is, and less in the green block. So this is exciting, and I guess, one thing that maybe we've talked about open source. The whole name of this thing is open source. This is open source too, and I think that partners are welcome. This is the kind of thing that the core functionality is so generally applicable to a lot of Orange County municipalities and areas. The specifics that you customize for your local business processes are important, but this presents an opportunity to start a movement towards building these open source tools. So we're excited.